Hello guys. So today is going to be a bit of a longer video, so bear with me. But today I was going to do a quick wrap up of the book that I've been reading and then head straight into the main content, which is I'm going to talk about some of the the early 2000s young adult contemporary books that shaped me as a reader. I was a kid in the 2000s. I'm what you might call a zillennial, kind of on the line between the two. I definitely grew up with the early 2000s culture, including books, and back in the day, young adult contemporary was kind of the thing. So that's what I was born and raised on. So I didn't keep all of them. Obviously, over the years, I've gotten rid of a lot of them, especially because I'm more of a fantasy reader. The only ones I keep are the ones that I feel like would still hold up, that I still enjoyed. So I would say the small collection that I do have, a lot of it is at my parents' house, and then I only have the select favorites here with me. So if you can see this giant stack of books I think it's your left of the camera, it's part of the collection, and then there's also some below here that you can't see, so we do have a little bit to get through, so I'm gonna quit chatting and just get on into it. So first off, I just wanted to say that I finished my reread of The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I read this over the weekend. Obviously, I've read it before, but I reread this over the weekend, and it held up. It was really cute. Again, I'm not really a romance reader. I'm not very familiar with the genre, but I thought this was a fun time. So yeah, if you aren't aware, Ali Hazelwood writes STEM romance books. So the characters in here are getting their doctorate in some form of science. I am an English major, so I'm not super familiar with the world of academia in terms of science and getting your PhD and all that kind of thing. Going to labs and using scopes to look at things that's actually kind of, I think, why I enjoy this book, because I thought the setting was pretty unique for a romance book, and I found it actually quite interesting because I think the author, Ali Hazelwood, she's also kind of went through that, is a woman in STEM, so she's speaking from firsthand experience. So yeah, this was really interesting and fun, and very much what I needed after reading Cloud Cuckoo Land and having my brain be blown into a billion bits. Yeah, I said this in a reply to someone who commented, but I've been thinking about the characters ever since finishing Cloud Cuckoo Land. I can't stop thinking about the story, and also thinking of when you characters stick in your brain and you wonder how they would think about a situation, or what they would be doing in a certain situation. It's reached that point, which means I know that it stuck with me and it definitely deserved the 5 stars. So yeah, but anyways, after that, this was just kind of a nice little calm down, cute romance book that got me back in an okay state of mind. Not to be too dramatic. And I just wanted to quickly say that before I get into the main content, which is the young adult books that shaped me, early 2000s edition. So starting off, I'm going to start off with the queen, in my opinion, Sarah Dessen. If I could say anything, it would be that Sarah Dessen books hold up today as some of the best, contemporary romance, I guess. I don't know if you'd label them I mean, I guess they'd be considered romance too, but they always dealt with something deeper, kind of Emily Henry books, maybe. The writing is not the same, but like characters are dealing with other things. There is a romantic aspect, but like there's always a focus on something else too. So yes, Sarah Dessen was my, what do you call it, like bread and butter. It was like what I loved the most. I it was like Taylor Swift. Like whenever she would come out with a new album, the way people like run to listen to new Taylor Swift albums is how I was with Sarah Dessen. Like she let out a new book and I was like, I have to get it. So the first book, I didn't read all of them. She wrote a lot. My sister has some that I haven't read yet. And who knows if I will get to them. But like these are like the ones that I mainly read as a teen or tween, sort of both tween and teen. I read her all through middle school and high school. So because her stories hold up, man. They're good. But yeah, the first book I read from her, I think, was this book. And they've redone the covers since then. Like if you go to the store, you'll see her books still because they're timeless. But they've redone the covers to look slightly different, and these are the older covers. So I cherish these. I would also say like I do think they would hold up to like teens now. I think they would still like them, but they're particularly good also for like the vibe of the early 2000s. Like if you grew up or were like a tween and older anytime during that time period, this will bring you back. This will bring you back to the days. Also all of her books are standalones, but they're like interconnected. It's like that thing where you can see the other characters cross into other books. And this was back in like what, 2006 or like, I don't remember when her first book came out, but this is 1998. 1998. I obviously did not read it in 1998, but I read it in probably like the early 2000s, like 2006 or 7. I'm not sure exactly when, but like this just has the vibe of that time period down perfectly. So again, like I know that's kind of popular now for contemporary books to do like interconnected worlds, but let's just say Sarah Dessen did it first, and she did it great. I just love her so much. So all of her books are set, I think, in like one of the Carolinas. I think it's North Carolina. Well, it's either North Carolina or South Carolina, obviously. I can't remember which one at this moment. And it doesn't say on the back of this book, but each one follows like a different protagonist, a girl. If I remember this one, let's see if I can remember. This one follows like a girl whose best friend gets pregnant and her boyfriend's killed in a motorcycle incident, and she's pregnant. And this one follows mostly their friendship, the two girls. Usually there's like a central like romantic aspect, but that was kind of less present in this first book. I will say this is not my favorite Sarah Dessen book. It's called Someone Like You, by the way. This is not my favorite Sarah Dessen book, but like it's the first one I picked up, so it holds a very special place in my heart. The second one I read, this is probably the darkest of her books. I don't know why I did air quotes. It's pretty dark. It's called Dreamland by Sarah Dessen, and this is also actually one of my favorites. It's about a girl who enters into an abusive relationship with a guy in high school, and I don't know, just like the way it was written was just like I had never experienced something like that or knew anyone who had. So this book just kind of like expanded my like world of relationship knowledge, I guess you could say. It was just so good. Like the conflicted feelings you feel, like the protagonist is obviously conflicted and you feel the same feelings. Like as the reader, obviously you know that like what's happening isn't okay, but like as a teen reading this, like I could see it from her perspective, and like just this was a very like heavy book, but honestly one of my favorite Sarah Dessen books. It's not that long either. I would say this is probably like my second or third favorite Sarah Dessen book that I've ever read. I haven't reread it as an adult yet, but I do think it would hold up. I wouldn't mind. Honestly, it might be a little triggering reading it again because, like, I don't know. But this was a good book, and I really liked it. This was my first favorite, I would say, that I'd read from her, and probably the darkest one she's written, at least to my knowledge. Obviously, there's a few that I haven't read yet. Dreamland. And then here we go. Okay, a moment of silence. Not a moment of silence, but a moment of anticipation, because this is my very favorite Sarah Dessen book. It's The Truth About Forever. This is still one of my favorite contemporary books ever. I have never related to a character like Macy so much ever. And you can tell this is my favorite because I automatically remembered the protagonist's name. I think the other one was Caitlin. But yeah, this follows Macy. And, like, I just related to her a lot. She was kind of a perfectionist, and, like, her mom was very type A, and she joins, like, a catering job, which is very unlike her. Like, she studies for the SAT a lot. She has, like, her life mapped out with her boyfriend, but then, like, her summer ends up, like, not going as she expects it to, and she joins, like, this unexpected job of, like, a very chaotic catering crew, and, like, the people she's working with become friends, and they're just very different from, like, the friends that she's always had, and, like, are not really part of, like, the map for her life that she and, like, her boyfriend and her mom have, like, planned out for her. And in that catering crew is a guy named Wes, who is obviously, like, the love interest in it. And I just, like, I loved all the characters so much, like, and they play this game called, like, Truth. It's kind of follows that setup where, like, they exchange truth, and whoever backs out first has to, like, do something that the other person requests or something. I can't exactly remember, but, like, this book is just very special to me and holds a very special place in my heart because I had never related so much to, like, a protagonist. And also Wes was just, like, became, like, my standard for, like, a partner, because, like, he's a good guy, and like an artsy type, which again, like, I just related a lot to, because, like, I am kind of, me and my sibling, we're kind of more creative-y, artsy than I would say my parents are, and so I just, like, really related a lot to her emotional journey in this book. So yeah, The Truth About Forever, a forever classic, a forever 5-star, a forever favorite. And to say so, this is Sarah Dessen on the back of this book. This is the author, a queen. But I also have this is an advanced reader's copy. You see this? I found this in a book sale, actually, which is kind of wild. Like, I think from my local library, was years ago, but this is an advanced copy that they send out to, like, reviewers and stuff. And it's also, if I can find it, signed. So, like, this was a steal. And it was, like, cheap to buy. It says not for sale, but this was, like, years before it. I mean, years after it came out, so I guess either they didn't read it or they didn't care. But yeah, so I have a signed advanced reader's copy of this book. My very favorite, and it just happened to be, like, my very favorite Sarah Dessen book, so it just kind of felt like fate, like this was meant to find you. So if I had to recommend one of her books, I would say this one. It's just, I'm sorry, I keep repeating myself, but, like, it's just so good. So yeah, this is kind of like a collector's item. Review copies usually sometimes have, like, small changes that before they publish it in its final form. So, like, there's more maybe typos or, like, small scene changes. So nothing, like, crazy, but just pretty cool to find. So yeah, there's that book. This is my second favorite Sarah Dessen book, This Lullaby. And this one follows a girl who's like very guarded. Her name's Ruby, and she's very like jaded about relationships and like never gets too attached and stuff like that. I think her name's Ruby. Remy. There's another book by her where the character's name is Ruby, but this one's Remy. This one especially just has such 2000s vibes, like the clothes, the language, I don't know, brings me back. But this one follows, again, Remy, who's like very emotionally kind of closed off, and she meets this boy named Dexter, and Dexter is so funny. Like, this book is the funniest, I think, of all Sarah Dessen's book. Like their banter, she's very dry and sarcastic, and he's very like funny golden retriever, quick-witted character, and like their banter is just like A+. It was so funny. And I will say, like, 2000s contemporary just reads different from like current contemporary. Not to say that one's better than the other, but I just think because I was born and raised on this, that like I prefer this kind of contemporary-esque romance setup. And so yeah, like he's a musician too. He plays in a band, and he like rents a house with a bunch of his friends, and like she kind of reluctantly gets like roped into this like friendship. And it's so good. Like, it's just Remy and Decker, classic. This is probably my second favorite because the relationship is just so good. So like he gets her to like come out of her shell and stuff. There's so many scenes that I just very vividly remember from this book. This one just brings me joy. What a classic. There's only 2 more, so don't worry, we're getting out of Sarah Dessen soon if you're sick of this. And I actually have less to say about these 2 because they're not quite as my favorite. I still love them, but like I probably won't gush about these as much. So this is Lock and Key. This follows Ruby. And again, like I said, like these characters will show up. Like if you've read the other books in her series, you'll usually see cameos of some of the characters in the other books, and you get like so excited because you're like, oh my gosh, I love you. I missed you guys. I'm trying to remember what this one's about. I think this one, like, she like moves towns and lives with like her sister, I think. Yeah, she's going to live with her sister after her mother vanishes. And there's like a boy next door that she gets involved with. I think he's a swimmer, if I remember correctly. But I think this one, like, he has more, like, he puts on a good face, but he's the one who's kind of struggling with something, and she like is more like there for him, and like they help each. I don't know. And this is very vague terminology. Obviously, I don't really remember that well, the plot of this one, but I do remember liking it. I reread this one a couple times, so I obviously liked it. So a good one. Obviously, this 2000 cover, you can usually tell by like the people on the cover. You're like, oh yes, this is an earlier book. But to me, they're like kind of classic looking, so I'm not complaining. This is a very dangerously tall stack next to me that you can't see, so if you hear a giant thud, you know something's happened. And this is the last one. This is the most recent book by her that I read. It's the old cover, but I read it after they came out with the new covers. I think I got this at a half-price book sale or something. Yeah, this one deals with like a girl who like loses weight and like dealing with like the perceptions that she gets and like the internal like struggle she has with her appearance before and after, which I thought it was nice that like Sarah Dessen would tackle that in the book. I don't really remember if it holds up. I think so. I don't like have any memories of being like, ugh. But yeah, North Carolina. They're all set in North Carolina. Colby, North Carolina. Yeah. But she like lands a job at like a grill as a waitress and like makes friends there. And then there's like a guy that she also meets. So yeah, I liked this one. It wasn't like a favorite. It was still really good though. But I think I just have such like a rose-colored glasses for like The Truth About Forever and This Lullaby that I don't think anything will ever replace them. But yeah, those will always be my favorite. And so that's my Sarah Dessen collection. If you're ever in the mood for some young adult contemporary from the early 2000s, I highly recommend it. And I do think they would hold up even if you're older. Like, I think they'd hold up now. So if you're older and you're looking for some good contemporary, they're really good. So yeah. And the next book I picked specifically because I'm sure some of you will know this author, Emily Henry. She wrote Beach Read and People We Meet on Vacation, Book Lovers, Happy Place. I've only read Beach Read from like her newer stuff because those are all contemporary, what am I trying to say, adult fiction. But before she wrote those, she wrote young adult books. And so this is a book that I read forever ago. Called A Million Junes. Yeah. I really like this book. It has like a magical element to it, I believe. And so did like, she wrote another book that I haven't read called The Love That Split the World. I think that also had like a magical element to it. I haven't read this one, but I really like this one. I said this before, but one of my favorite book series in my top 3, my second favorite book series of all time, is The Raven Cycle. And this book like gave me that kind of vibe. The story's different, but like the mood, I guess, of the book and the tone of it reminds me of The Raven Cycle. So I really did like this, and it's a standalone. It's young adult. And there's kind of like 2 families. Like the girl grows up in this one family and she's been told to like stay away from the other family, and it's not really Romeo and Juliet, but like I guess in the family aspect it is. So yeah, if you're looking to read any of Emily Henry's backlist before she became like a book talk sensation contemporary adult fiction writer, I would highly recommend A Million Junes. This was really good. And then I have another author here, another classic young adult teen author from back in the day. And that is Lauren Barnholt. So I'm going to start out with this book, Two-Way Street, another classic cover. So when did this come out? Just to get like an idea of things. This is a, hold on, 2007. So yeah, this book came out in 2007. And this is a story, a road trip story about a girl who ends up having to drive cross country with her ex to their new college. Like they'd planned to go together, but then they broke up and like circumstances happened and they ended up having to go on the trip together anyways. So like if you like road trip novels, this is so funny. Like I don't know, Lauren Barnholt's writing, I just remember finding it really enjoyable. There's a lot of like sarcasm and like funny scenarios where like the main character actually puts her foot in her mouth and like he has to like rescue her from embarrassing situations. Like it's just really fun. Again, another like young adult classic. Lauren Barnholt, like she had my back during those years. So yeah, this was the first book I read from her, and then the other book is One Night That Changes Everything. And this is like one of those list books, and let me explain. So like, before I explain, let me just refresh myself real quick. Her notebook was stolen, and like someone is like kind of blackmailing her. Actually, her ex-boyfriend is like blackmailing her to like do these certain things that she, or else like he'll share her notebook that has like written down secrets in it. So anyways, like basically the premise is she has to like complete all these dares, and she's very like shy and like more introverted, and like it's like challenges to like the notebook had things like she wishes she could do but like she's too scared to do, and so he's like challenging her to do all these things. And it was also really good, same humor, and we love a book that like follows like a list sort of formatting. So I think this one also features music pretty heavily, if I recall. So yeah, I also read a different book by this author, but it's on, I think, my iPad from like forever ago, so I can't really remember the title. But if you're here for like, these are solid contemporary young adult romances. Like, I would recommend them still. There are definitely some that I used to read that like I would not ever put you through, but these ones hold up, I'm pretty sure. So, and then another, maybe more recent a book that you've probably heard of is Fangirl. Whoa, that was so scary. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. About a girl who writes fan fiction. And it's like her first year of college. So like if you're on like the precipice of like, or like if you want to reminisce about like that transition from high school to college, and if you were like an introverted, bookish, or nerdy person, or a fanfic writer, like this book is for you. Like I feel like a lot of people felt very seen by this book. If you were like a fandom girl or boy, or you know, like someone in a fandom, felt, and you were going into college, they felt very seen by this book, and I understand why, because I similarly also felt very seen by this. I wasn't a fanfic writer, but like I was definitely bookish, introverted, scared to socialize, wanted to hole up in my dorm all the time, so like mostly glued to books and my laptop. So like if that was you, like this book was very relatable for a lot of people, and I understand why. So yeah, her name's Kath, and she's like this pretty popular fanfic writer for like these two guys in a magical school that weren't canon, but like people shipped a lot. Funny thing, like when I read this, I didn't know like who the stand-ins were supposed to be, because I had just never dipped my toe into any of that. But looking back, it's kind of funny. So yeah, she writes about this pairing. She has like a very long fanfic about it that's like followed by like hundreds or thousands of people. But in real life, she's very shy. So like that kind of like love story, college dynamic. So very cute. In fact, I remember I enjoyed it so much that they came out with like 5 different editions with like 5 different colors of the cover. So like the original is like this light blue teal color, mint green maybe. I'm not exactly sure what color that is. But the one that I have in terms of like special editions is this pink edition. Like I think there's like a Barnes & Noble edition, and then I think there was a Borders edition. If you remember what Borders was, you're a real one. But yeah, I think this is either the Barnes & Noble edition or like an indie edition. I can't remember, but it has this pink cover. Oh, okay, it's a special edition with including fan art, a ribbon bookmark, an exclusive Q&A, and an excerpt from her new book. So yeah, actually let me take off the cover of this. It has a little, she drinks coffee, obviously, so it has like a little Kath coffee cup on the front. And then on the inside, it has fan art of both the characters and like the people the story she writes about. On both sides. So I guess that's like the exclusive part of it, along with the like Q&A. So yeah. So this was pretty popular when it released, and I would reread it. Like I think it was enjoyable and very relatable. So yeah. Do I really need 2 copies? Probably not. But I do, so. See, this one was written in 2015. A peak time for fandom Tumblr, you know, so. She wrote it at a good time. And then the last book I wanted to show was this book called My Heart and Other Black Holes by Jasmine Warga. And this I've only read once because it kind of deals with a more like serious topic. So yeah, like she's feeling distance from her mother. Her father committed a violent crime that like kind of rocked the small town she lives in. The main character's name is Azel, by the way. And so she like, I think if I remember correctly, she goes online and like to this site and like finds someone like a suicide partner because she's struggling very severely with depression. And it's about the guy she's connected with, their sort of dynamic and like both their individual journeys and their journey together as like getting to know each other. So yeah, I would say this was probably definitely one, like if you struggled with depression, like you'll probably find this pretty relatable. I'm not sure if I would reread it now, but I did really like it at the time, and it meant a lot to me, so that's why I've kept it all these years. But yeah, that's this book. So those are the ones that I picked to show you. Predominantly Sarah Dessen books being the main star of the show. If you're looking for any contemporary romance, or not even romance, but I mean they all include some sort of romantic element, but like a contemporary young adult book from the early 2000s to mid 2000s, I guess. Those were some of my personal favorites from back in the day. There's also a book that I don't have. If you read thriller books, there's an author named Megan Miranda who again writes a lot of like popular adult thrillers, but she again also started out in young adult, and she wrote a book called Fracture that was about a girl who like technically dies, but like they managed to save her, and she's just very traumatized after that. And it's such a good book. Like I related to it a lot because I had like brain trauma, and just like her recovery period thoughts were very similar to mine. So like it's a very special book in my heart. And then like after she wrote that and maybe a couple other books, she like transitioned to adult thrillers and like has a big name for herself. Like she's one of those authors that like you see the big font for her name and like the title is usually smaller. That's how you know like you've gone big in the commercial land, I guess. So yeah, but that was my favorite book from her, and it still means a lot to me. So I have that somewhere. I'm just not exactly sure where. But yeah, those were my top contemporary early 2000 recs, mostly contemporary romance. But if you're looking to do like a throwback to that era, I would still recommend those. I'm not sure, like this is probably not like the genre that most of you read, so that's why I kind of wanted to do it first. I'm gonna hope to do like spotlights on special editions and also like top 5 in a genre, but obviously with fantasy and books that I like love the most, like my favorite genres, it's going to be a lot harder to like whittle it down to like top 5 or even top 10. But I don't read a lot of young adult contemporary, so I thought this would be like the easiest to start with. So just to like dip my toe in, I thought I'd try and do that first and see how it went. So if you enjoyed this, please let me know, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.